The Simpsons. Do 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 do. Iconic, huh? Hey there, Heather. Hello there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond. Welcome you to a Simpsons episode of a Cutter video for YouTube. And today I'm going to look at the 36 greatest Simpson episodes of all time and how they transcended things and all that. Of course, I will try to spend 1 minute per episode, talking about plot points and major storylines and, pop culture enemas, if you will. So these episodes are huge. Now, here's the thing. There was only one episode post season 11 that made the top 36. That shows how much The Simpsons, after 11 years, should have just left the show, left the airwaves, and maybe we get a freaking reboot. But the fact of the matter is that we're going to be talking about The Simpsons, and we're going to be talking about 36 great episodes. Strap yourselves in. It's going to be a wild ride. All right, so here we go. We got to the top 12. Number 12 is the Itchy and Scratchy and Poochie Show, Season 8. I'm actually shocked at how high this was because of the premise. So, anyway, The Simpsons basically make fun of themselves multiple times in this episode. Itchy and Scratchy starting to get stale, and then they decide a new character is worth it, so they create Poochie. Homer ends up winning the Poochie voice role because he gives Roger Myers some attitude. Of course, when the kids hear about it, they're like, "What's going on?" And then Lisa says, "When a TV show almost overstays its welcome, adding a new character is basically desperation." And then this guy named Roy comes in at the Simpson home. So anyhow, Poochie is definitely hyped, but not well received because he's so lame. And the fact is that he overshadows the story, according to Millhouse. Everyone turns on him, including his family. Ned's the only one who liked it, but Ned's awkward. Everyone wants Poochie to go, and basically Itchy and Scratchy get inundated with death threats towards Poochie. So they have to cut Poochie loose to save their own hides. All that. Bart and Lisa try to feign their happiness at that. Homer decides to give a monologue about the fact that Poochie is bad, and then tells Itchy and Scratchy that, I may come off as being a jerk, but we can laugh and grow and all that. Roger Myers is okay by it, but then he double crosses Homer by replacing it with a line he does. "I've got to go now. My planet needs me." And then he dies on his way to his planet. Poochie was from another planet. Okay. And then Krusty's, "Poochie's dead." Everyone cheers. Of course, in syndication, you don't see this scene, but he promises that, yeah, I know that cartoon characters die every week and come back, but this is a sworn affidavit that Poochie will never, ever come back to Itchy and Scratchy. Everyone cheers again, even including Bart and Lisa, but Homer sees through it. Homer thinks he's the problem, that, he had too much creative control and didn't ask for money. Now you have to go after Itchy and Scratchy. They're not paying you. Are you nuts? And everyone, I think, watches Itchy and Scratchy again, realizing that if they don't support it, then Fuji or something else will come back to ruin it. No, of course, The Simpsons, that was just the thing about the longevity. And this is freaking season 8. They're almost they're 4.5 times that thing already on season 36, past 36. Season 8 also is in number 11. It's called You Only Move Twice. This is when Homer is offered a job at Cypress Creek, and everything entices Homer to take the job. The Simpson family gets a fond farewell from many characters, but basically Homer tells him that, say, "Up yours." He meets Hank Scorpio, his boss, and all that, but he becomes a very friendly person. Albert Brooks plays Scorpio to the hilt and does well with him. And he's a very good boss and all that, and asks Homer for his opinion on several things, including hammocks, and entices Homer to buy Tom Landry's hat and all that. So yeah, it was big. Of course, Homer's lifelong dream is to own the Dallas Cowboys, and everyone laughs at him. So Scorpio says, "Your dreams will probably come true." Anyhow, so unbeknownst to Homer, Scorpio is a mega villain and all that. And unbeknownst to Homer, even though that he's thriving in his job, which usually never happens, his family is suffering. Marge is upset by the self-cleaning house so much she decides to drink wine. Although she says that they say you should have a glass and a half, but I just can't seem to get past one glass. Weird. Lisa has troubles because of being allergic to almost everything. I guess with being in a sterile environment like a place that has a nuclear power plant, things don't really grow that well. And Bart has trouble because of his learning problems. Well, it serves Bart right. So anyway, Bart's put in the Leg Up program, which is like special needs class. And one kid named Gordy is there as a Canadian because they think he's slow, eh? And then basically almost everyone else is a clone of Ralph Wiggum. I said fires. So basically, Bart does not enjoy being in the program, but it serves him right. Maybe it entices him to do better. Everyone wants to go back to Springfield except for Homer, but then Homer decides to do the right thing and tell Scorpio we're moving back to Springfield. The house is abandoned, but Otto and his girlfriend live in it. And then Homer gets a telegram. He gets the Denver Broncos instead of the Dallas Cowboys, and he groans about it. But I bet he wasn't groaning in 1998-99 when the Broncos won the Super Bowl. But knowing Homer, he probably sold the team. That's kind of meowing in the background. Number 11, no, sorry, number 10 is Round Springfield, season 6. So season 6 was a big one. I know what you're thinking, but no, that's not the episode. Round Springfield is the one when Bart has an attack after eating a Crustio, which shreds him, and he has to get an appendicitis. He has his appendix removed. Everyone thinks he's faking all that until it's too late. And it exposes Springfield Elementary's problems as lunch lady Doris has to be the nurse, and Willie's teaching French. Bonjour, you cheese-eating surrender monkeys. Of course, that's his thoughts, not mine, on the French. So anyhow, Lisa then visits Barton in the hospital and then finds out that Bleeding Gums Murphy is there, and they jam and all that. But Bleeding Gums Murphy is dying, and of course he dies. He dies, ironically, hours after Lisa is forced to do a band thing. But with everyone getting their appendix out after realizing they'll miss a week of school, they were down to 3 people. Martin on triangle. Martin is a kiss ass. Lisa on saxophone, and Ralph Wiggum with a flute up his nose. That's a nice playing, boy. Unfortunately, Bleeding Gums Murphy dies and all that. And Lisa's upset that everyone doesn't greet him. And especially at his funeral, she's the only one. Reverend Lovejoy goes through with it and doesn't remember Bleeding Gums Murphy that well. And Lisa says, I am going to make Springfield remember Bleeding Gums Murphy. And Homer says, I won't rest until I get a hot dog. Homer, this is a funeral. Hot dogs here. Do you follow my husband everywhere? Lady, he's putting my kids through college. Really? You would be able to put his kids through college through hot dogs? That doesn't make sense. But anyway, Lisa gets William Murphy's album, which is doubled from 250 to 500 because he's dead. But Bart gives her the $500 he won from the Krusty lawsuit. Although Lionel Hutz basically, it was a big settlement, but Lionel Hutz had to pay people off because of his infirmness and his 2 oddball lawyers. But anyway, Bart's still happy about it and then gives Lisa the money because Lisa was the only one to believe that he had appendicitis. And then she plays the song and all that. Number 9 is Deep Space Homer, season 5. Homer is tired of being denied the Worker of the Week award, or Worker of the Month, I guess it is. Everyone's got one. And Lenny and Carl says, why do we have these things? Everyone's got one. But Homer doesn't. But Mr. Burns rewards an inanimate carbon rod with that award, and everyone cheers, and Homer is angry at it. Bart actually thinks that it was neat that a carbon rod won it. Homer then is upset. Of course, at NASA, nobody is watching the space programs, the space shuttle liftoffs anymore. Homer almost did because his remote batteries died, but Bart unplugs the TV. But I think that wouldn't it count too because it was still on the channel? I guess not. Anyway, they try to appeal to the everyman by having someone like Homer into space and all that. Homer and Barney challenge for that spot. Barney ends up winning easily because even though that he is told to be sober, Barney is way better sober than drunk. Homer did inadvertently make Barney drink and all that. and we'll get to that later. But anyhow, Homer wins by default because Barney gets drunk on non-alcoholic wine and ruins some space gear. But Homer has second thoughts about going to space, and then tells Marge, and Marge says that basically this is a thing that you need to have. So he gets off, and the Simpson family with Patty and Selma and Grandpa watch the launch, and they deem it the most watched launch in a while. Are you serious? 8 people? Nevertheless, Homer then ruins the space shuttle by releasing some potato chips in space. He eats them, but then he inadvertently hurts an ant colony, and one of the ants gets into the system, and they're in deep trouble. Homer then uses an inanimate carbon rod to hold everything up, and they go into space, and they're fine. However, the carbon rod gets the prey through the Canyon of Heroes instead of Homer. I think Homer does win Worker of the Week slash month anyway. I think Burns realized it because he went into space. Number 8 is Mr. Plow. Call Mr. Plow, that's my name. That name again is Mr. Plow. Pretty good episode, season 4. So Homer ends up crashing his car and Marge's car in a snow blizzard and all that. So he goes to a car show to get a car. They meet Adam West. Yes, that Adam West from Batman. And then, Fourth Reich Motors tries to entice Lisa to it. Bart steals money from the Bunny and Clyde car. And then Homer realizes that he can use his plow for everything and envisions him having to use the plow by then President George H.W. Bush to plow protesters. Really? To kill people? Nevertheless, Homer does his job, and then he actually balks at the price tag, but then the salesperson gets him to buy it by doing an imaginary whip, saying that Homer is whipped because he has to attack Marge. So anyway, he uses the plow for good. Unfortunately, though, he doesn't realize the consequences. He plows the Quickie Mart, and then Snake and a unnamed assailant help rob a Pooh store. He plows in front of the retirement castle, and everyone says, "We're free." "I'm cold and frightened," says Grandpa. And then the school is opened, even though that Martin comes desperately in snowshoes. Bart gets pelted by everyone with snowballs. He does get the key to the city, and Barney is jealous of his act. And then Homer says, Barney was the big baby at Lullabies, says that you need to pull up your diaper and do something about it. Not realizing that Barney would buy the Plow King plow and outdo the plow, Mr. Plow, with that commercial and all that. He even gets Linda Ronstadt to sing in his commercial. "Mr. Plow is a loser, and I think he is a boozer." So yeah, that's kind of cool. Now we do find out that Homer inadvertently made Barney the booze hound he was, because Barney was a smart guy who was going to ace his SATs and go to Harvard. But then Homer slips him a forbidden beer, and then he turns ghastly. So anyway, Homer tries to trick Barney into snowballing on Widow's Peak so that he can get Barney's business. But then guilt gets to him, and then he saves Barney and then tempts God by saying that with two men working together, not even God can ruin it. Oh no! And then he melts everything and makes it spring and all of that. Grandpa says, "We're free." I don't like the looks of those teenagers. Unfortunately, though, because of the um, global warming and all that, and they warned us about it way back before we knew, Homer ends up losing his plow. Number 7 is Last Exit to Springfield. A lot of people said this is the best episode ever. This is the episode in which Homer and the nuclear plant actually get free beer for their meetings at the price of their dental plan. But at the same time, Lisa ends up having to get braces, need braces, and then Homer realizes that if we don't have the dental plan, I have to pay for Lisa's braces. And then he becomes the new union head, and Burns is not happy with it. All Homer wants is a dental plan, but Burns thinks that Homer wants a lot more things, and Homer's smarter than he thinks. Lisa can't get her braces that she wanted because of the lack of dental plans, so she gets this very medieval looking ghastly thing. Unfortunately, though, Burns tries to get to Homer's side, but Homer doesn't seem to get see eye to eye. And then Lenny and Carl decide to lead everyone to a strike without Homer's approval and all that. So, they're striking and all that. Lisa sings songs. The big cooling tower, they got the strength, but we got the power. A nice ballad. Burns decides to cut off everyone's power after realizing he can't win. But then everyone still sings, and like the Grinch stole, how the Grinch stole Christmas, Mr. Burns' heart grows 3 sizes. He puts everything up and running, and then says that Homer can have his dental plan if he resigns as union head. And Homer does a dance, and Burns says, "I'm beginning to think that Homer Simpson was not the great negotiator he seemed to be." And then Lisa gets her invisible braces and says, "That's the tooth." Number 6 is 22 short films about Springfield for showcasing many characters, even Bumblebee Man, Nelson, Dr. Nick, Grandpa, Burns, Smithers. It was a cornucopia. They even did one with all female characters recently, which pretty good. Number 5 is Lisa the Vegetarian, season 7. Lisa and family tried to appease Maggie by going to Storybook Gardens and all that. Storytime Village or something like that. Everyone groans about it. But, Marge says this would be fine for ages, uh, Maggie's age to Grandpa's age. But the sign says fun for kids 1 to 7.5. Really? So anyway, they try to enjoy it. Lisa then fawns over a baby lamb. And then they end up having pork chops. But Lisa's mind is stuck on the pork chop. And the little lamb getting to her saying, "Lisa, you said you loved me. Loved me." So anyway, Lisa says she can't hurt innocent lamb. And then basically isn't happy with Marge offering chicken nuggets, rump roast, and hot dogs made from several different things. And then, I can't slaughter an innocent baby lamb and all that. And Lisa vows not to eat meat ever. Unfortunately, though, she gets tempted by a lot of things. At school, she wants vegetarian stuff, but doesn't get through to people. Miss Hoover and Lunch Lady Doris put up independent thought alarms and makes Skinner nervous because now the students are rebelling. Are you freaking nuts, Skinner? That doesn't mean shit. So basically, they try to win Lisa's heart with a Troy McClure themed thing, but Lisa is not buying it, although everyone laughs at her. So it doesn't help matters that Homer is having a big barbecue and all that, and they sing the song, "You can't win friends with salad, you can't win friends with salad, you can't win friends with salad." Everyone joins in, even Marge. Lisa is fuming, and then she decides not to go to the barbecue and it offers some ice cold veggie soup. Everyone laughs at her. Well, of course, Homer has to barbecue to spur Flanders because Flanders refused to invite him to his family reunion, even though that it's full of Flanders, like Jose Flanders, ding dong diddly dee, senor, and Lord Flanders, charmed, oogly googly. So yeah, so Homer thinks he's won everything, but then Lisa, after getting food accidentally put to her face, decides to blow off steam and steal Homer's pig, and then crashes it over a fence, and it flies through the air. And Burns has to donate money because, or seems to have to, because when pigs fly, and it's flying, are you going to cut that check? Nope. Homer blows up at Lisa, and Lisa says, "You're wrong for this food. Wrong, wrong, wrong. If you excuse me, I'm going to my room." "That's it. Go to your room." And then, of course, there's a lot of panic, and then Lisa finally decides, "I'm out of here. That's it. Go to your room." And she's leaving. People mock her beliefs and all that, and then she finally decides to eat one of Apu's hot dogs, saying, "There, are you happy?" "Oh, I thought you like my tofu dogs." "Tofu?" So Apu's a vegetarian. Well, from India, the cow's sacred. And then Paul and Linda McCartney pull up out of freaking nowhere to help Apu out and tells Lisa that, you could be a vegetarian, but basically you have to deal with people's beliefs and you can't push on people. So Lisa realizes it and makes peace with Homer. But Homer does give a little. And actually, the side note is that Paul McCartney only appeared on this episode if Lisa would become a vegetarian. And she has been ever since season 7. Now, there have been scenes of her eating meat, but I think that's in dream flashback things. And the fact of the matter is that, maybe the Simpsons are waiting for Paul McCartney to die so they can make Lisa a meat eater again. Number 4 is Bart of Darkness, season 6. Yeah, I remember this one. So this is the episode in which, you know, the kids play in the pool mobile and then they want their own pool. Can we have a pool, Dad? Can we have a pool, Dad? Can we have a pool, Dad? I understand. Let us celebrate this new arrangement by the adding of chocolate to milk. So anyway, they get a pool, and unfortunately Homer creates a barn. Fine barn, no good English. With. But then all the kids go into Bart's pool and all that. Bart tries to do a jump from the treehouse, but Nelson distracts him, saying, "Hey, your epidermis is showing." And then Bart tries to look at it, and then he falls off the treehouse in gory fashion. Bronk! His leg is like an S shape. Ha ha! Hey, Nelson, he might be hurt. I said ha ha! And then Bart gets rushed to the emergency room. Unfortunately, he has to wait his turn because of all the injuries from pool season. Dr. Hibbert says that his leg has to come off. No, the leg of his swimsuit. Oh, you got a broken leg. You're going to have to miss the summer. Oh, I'm going to miss the summer. Homer says, well, when you get a job like me, you'll miss all the summers. Bart, unfortunately, is forced to a wheelchair. Krusty goes off the air, and they have classic Krusty stuff. And basically, Bart becomes ghastly in his room. He gets Lisa's telescope and then realizes that Flanders has murdered someone, or so he seems. So he gets Lisa to do his dirty work. As Bart was ready to play, but his play is so bad that Lisa says, "I'll do it. I'll help you." Bart probably uses it as a um, maniacal plan. So anyway, Lisa tries to help Bart out. Of course, Ned comes home, and then it's found out that Ned had killed Maud's ficus plant. Maud was with God. She was at Bible camp learning to be more judgmental. And people actually said that when she went to Bible camp, she was a whole lot darker, harassing Marge, not helping Ned out with the bears and all that. So, yeah, that's what happens. And then, Ned has his scream and all that. Martin actually gets a pull to be jealous of Bart's. Well, Lisa is now the cool person in the pool because with Bart out, everyone turns their attention to Lisa. But then Lisa learns that they'll abandon her when Martin's pool comes up. Unfortunately, Martin's pool is overfilled, and he does get his swimsuit taken away from by Nels. Number 3 is Trios of Horror 5. That's a tough one because, Trios of Horror. I can't remember which one it is. Of course, I have to do my research. Oh, okay, yeah, I know this one. Okay, so it's the episode. It's the one with the shining, the shining. You mean shinning? You don't. No, shinning. You want us to get sued? It's when in the parody of The Shining that Homer gets the cable and beer taken away from him, and he goes bonkers like Jack Nicholson. Here's Johnny. Do. David Letterman. Do. I'm always savior and blah blah blah. This is 60 minutes. Ah. So anyway, Bart uses the shin to get Groundskeeper Willie to try to help, but Homer kills him. But then, thanks to Groundskeeper Willie's small TV, Homer is now docile. No TV and no beer. Make Homer go something something. Go crazy? Don't mind if I do. Ba ba ba. Ah. So anyhow, second is Time and Punishment when Homer ends up creating time loops by a broken toaster, including one in which his family is perfect, but donuts don't exist. It's just rain, but he doesn't see it that way. Yeah, so a lot of things happen, and then The third one is when Bart is sent to detention and all that, but it's overcrowded. So Principal Skinner and Lunch Lady Doris decide to cut down on the population by getting kids in detention and then feeding them to everyone. The kids are not too wiser, but then Skinner lets on, talking about Uter, saying that I have a gut feeling he's inside all of us. The kids try to tell Marge, but Marge says, you have to fight your own battles. Just say, don't eat me. Not realizing the full scope. Unfortunately, Lisa, Milhouse, and Bart are almost the only ones left. And they escape, in a sense, but everyone wants to eat them, including Skinner says, I will eat your shorts for once. They get hit into a maniacal blender, but basically it was all Bart's dream. Number 2 is Rosebud from season 5. This episode, Burns longs for his toy, Bobo, Bobo, Bobo. And Skinner and Smithers is like, what's going on? Oh no, I meant Sheriff Lobo. And then Homer is mumbling Lobo in his sleep. Keep Sheriff Lobo on the show. But anyway, Burns longs for his bear because Burns has his birthday celebration and everyone in the power plant has to help out. Homer is actually told to roast Burns, but basically he can't. And then he does bare his butt, mocking Burns. The Ramones even come saying happy birthday to Burns. Says, go to hell, you old bastard. Hey, I think you like this. Half the Rolling Stones killed. But sir, they weren't. Do as I say. So anyhow, what ends up happening is that, you know, that's what happens. And everything happens for a reason. And then, he finds out the bear through the Simpsons because Bart picks up a bag of ice and it has a teddy bear in it. Maggie plays with it, but then, you know, Burns looks for his bear and offers a massive reward. Homer is willing to accept it, but then Homer looks at Maggie and just can't do it. So he basically tells Burns niet. Unfortunately, Burns puts the pressure on by forcing himself on everyone's TV things and cutting off the beer supply. The town finally decides to go bonkers and gets that bear so that they can have their lives back. But Maggie's crying gets them to give the bear back. Maggie does give Burns the bear back on her own accord. And Homer's like, is this a happy ending or a bad ending? It's an ending. And then, of course, number one is the one that you see on the screen, Marge versus the Monorail. So Marge versus the Monorail is a very cool episode. It hooks you in at the start with Homer doing a Flintstones parody. Simpson, Homer Simpson, he's the greatest guy in history. From the town of Springfield, he's about to hit that chestnut tree. Ah! And then Burns has to give up $3 million for polluting the town and all that. And then everyone wants the money and all that. And then Burns tries to get it back with Mr. Snrub. And then of course, while Landley, played by the great Phil Hartman, does a song and dance about the monorail. Monorail, monorail. I heard those things are awfully loud. It's glides as smoothly as a cloud. Will the track will the track bend? Not on your friend life, your my Hindu friend. What about us brain-dead slobs? You'll be given cushion jobs. Were you sent here by the devil? No good, sir. I work on the level. The ring broke off my pudding can. Take my penknife, my good man. I swear it's Springfield's only choice. Come on, sing with me. Monorail. What's that name? Monorail. Once again. Monorail. And then March does like, but Main Street's all cracked and broken. Sorry, Mom, the mob has spoken. Monorail, 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 monorail. So, of course, it's a con job. March fears the worst for the town because they get the song and dancing, and Main Street's still broken. Of course, it doesn't help that Homer puts a piano and says, look at the pavement fly. Regardless of that, March versus Monorail is big because, Homer ends up being monorail conductor because Lyle basically named him that. And Homer says, my dream is to be a monorail conductor. No, it's not. It was to run on the field of a baseball game, and you did that last year. So anyway, yeah, Homer is influenced to do that. and he becomes monorail conductor and all that. Marge does see Lyle's plans, but doesn't see too much of it, or at least she tells him that. So Lyle actually flees on the way out as the monorail is ready to have a grand opening. The grand opening is big because Krusty appears, but then a lady says that he fathered a kid out of wedlock, and it looks just like Krusty with the Krusty thing and all that. And Lorraine Lumpkin, who in a previous episode, Colonel Homer basically was dumped off by Homer, and I guess because of Homer and all that, she fell into a deep depression. Leonard Nimoy makes a joke about it, but Mayor Quimby thinks that he's from Star Wars or from the Little Rascals. So anyway, the monorail goes smoothly, even though that Marge has her doubts because she says, "Homer, there's a family of possums in it. I call the big one Bitey." So she gets a scientist to try to help her out, and then when the monorail gets keeps going, it's solar based. Marge tries to get through to Homer. "Homer, I got someone to help you." "Batman?" "No, he's a scientist." "Batman's a scientist." "It's not Batman." Fortunately, though, the scientist walks Homer through everything and he ends up using an anchor to a large lot of donuts and saves the town. Marge then says that, and that was the last folly Springfield ever fell for, except for the large magnifying glass in the escalator to nowhere. But anyway, yeah, Marge versus the monorail. And now I'll finish this video by speaking to you in my tone. Diamond, Jeffrey Diamond, he's the greatest guy in history. From the city of Kitchener. I hope I don't hit that oak tree. Whack! Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. Adieu.